Thank you so much, Erin. So this is National Indigenous History Month, the month of June. And on June 21st, it is Indigenous Peoples Day. And these events are really important to recognize, especially right now when we continue to learn and relearn about the horrors that have occurred in residential schools across Canada. It's important for us to take this time to do this learning and to be engaged with the process of reconciliation as settlers with Indigenous people. And I'd like to start by positioning myself a little bit. I am not Indigenous, I am a settler here in Turtle Island. And so it is my honor and my responsibility to do what I can to learn about the history of Indigenous people. And so I'm going to share with you some highlights of some learning opportunities for you and encourage you to engage with them and learn now for this month of recognition and going forward. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So thank you, Rob, for opening today's town hall with land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement was developed in collaboration with local chiefs and elders and other Indigenous leaders and community members, and it's an opportunity to really deepen our understanding. Offering a land acknowledgement at the start of any gathering is an important way to recognize and respect the relationship with land that Indigenous people have, and to really reflect on your own relationship with the land that you occupy. And so it's an important commitment in reconciliation and decolonization. Land acknowledgements should be offered in a way that allows for some time and some space to really engage with some meaningful reflection on what it means to live and work and play on Indigenous lands. And so I encourage folks to think about it as a moment to really do some deep thinking in a process of ongoing thinking. And so with that, I'd like to repeat the land acknowledgement now and state that we are privileged to provide care on lands that Indigenous people have called home for thousands of years. We recognize and respect the presence and stewardship of all Indigenous people as keepers of this land. Hamilton is located on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe in lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. And I'm going to offer us actually a moment of silence just to think about and reflect on your relationship with this land and how you have related and engaged with this land. So take a moment and breathe, feel the ground beneath your feet if you would like, and think about this space and this territory and how you come to be here. Thank you for continuing that learning and that reflection. I'd also like to share a little bit of a tool and a resource that Human Rights and Inclusion team has developed. You can see on this slide, this is a one-pager about the use of land acknowledgements, why and how and when to use land acknowledgements, and some general tips. This one-pager was created with the generous time and commitment and help of Dina Clot, our Indigenous patient navigator, and Stephanie Rojance, Indigenous outreach coordinator. And I'm particularly grateful for their leadership and their wisdom in creating this tool and in their support and help across the board in general. So thank you to those folks. You can find this tool on the Human Rights and Inclusion team's resource hub page, as well as a number of other really important resources. And so I'd like to also continue in this recognition and acknowledgement of some of the colleagues and collaborators we've had in Indigenous spaces and move to the next slide, please. And take some time to look at our signs of welcome. You may have seen some of the signs of welcome. Depending on where you're located, you may have only seen one. There are 4 in total. And so I'd like to take a little bit of time to recognize the artists that created these and the relationship that IHS built with these individuals to create these welcome signs. So this first one is an elder with a smudge bowl and eagle feather. And it is adapted by artist Jay Havens from a mural that he created for Michaela's Room at McMaster Children's Hospital. Jay Havens is a multidisciplinary artist of Haudenosaunee, Mohawk, and Scottish Canadian ancestry. He is a proud member of the Six Nations of the Grand River Mohawk Bear Clan. Next slide. This particular image is the image of 3 moccasins, and it's an adaptation from an artwork created by Philip Cote for the Moccasin Identifier Project. This artist is Shawnee Lakota Potawatomi Ojibwe from Moose Deer Point First Nation and a graduate of OCAD, the Ontario College of Art and Design. And the Moccasin Identifier Project was a collaborative project with Carolyn King and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations to be a teaching tool and public awareness building program for treaty relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians. And I think that's important because we are all treaty people, and these are opportunities that have been developed to reflect on that relationship and establish good relations. Next slide, please. This particular image was created by Tracy Anthony. Turtle and 7 Generations includes the image of a turtle. The feather on its back has 7 segments reflecting on the 7 generations principle, but the decisions we make today should reflect in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. The 4 legs of the turtle represents the 4 directions, such as those found in the medicine wheel. And I think that 7 generations principle is a really important one to reflect on how what we do today leads into the future 7 generations from now for our children, our grandchildren, and so forth. Tracy Anthony's mother is Mississauga Ojibwe from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation Reserve, and his father is Delaware Lenni Lenape from the Six Nations of the Grand River Reserve. Next slide, please. And finally, this beautiful image was created by Arnold Jacobs. It depicts the Sky Woman, the mother goddess descending to earth. Water birds carry her down to the sea and set her on the back of a turtle, Turtle Island, which becomes her home. Arnold Jacobs is an Onondaga artist raised within the traditional culture and language of 6 Nations of the Grand River Territory, where he resides with his family. This image in general also really allows us to take some thought and consider that Turtle Island is home to many, and that we are in relation with a number of communities and a number of traditional people who have been stewards of this space. And these artists took time and dedicated some of their creative work to these welcome signs. I'm very grateful for that and offer thanks for that. And also note that there are specific relationships with these pieces of artwork. And so any consideration to utilize them in any way should really be considered carefully, because we have specific guidelines around that, as is necessary in respecting relationships with artists in general. These collaborations were an important part of our welcoming in this space. So thank you for these welcome signs. And if we can go to the next slide, I have listed here with my team a number of additional resources. So Indigenous History Month really is an opportunity to learn and to grow and to be in a significant and important relationship with this land, with the Indigenous people who have stewarded this land and continue to do so. And so please take a moment to take a look at some of these resources. So I will go through them for you. The first is an upcoming event for Indigenous Peoples Day, and it is on June 21st. It is being hosted by the City of Hamilton, and you can view it from your homes or from your workspaces. The next 2 items are policies we have within HHS. The first is the Land Acknowledgement Policy. I encourage you to review that document, and I really encourage leaders to continue or to begin to use land acknowledgements in many of your spaces, in team meetings, in gatherings of all sorts. It is designed to be a repeated reminder of our relationship with the land and with Indigenous people. So please feel free to start using it, continue using it, encourage using it. And the policy is there for you to help with that. The smudging ceremony protocol also exists in our policy library, and there's a really great video about smudging ceremony that I really encourage folks to view. It's a very important video that helps understand some of the cultural significance of the protocol and of smudging, and helps in your learning as well. HHS Indigenous care and services, the information for how we share our learning and how we do our best to commit to healthy and safer healthcare for patients and families in our Indigenous communities are located also. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission final report and calls to action. Take an extra moment to talk about this one. If you haven't read the report, please take a look at it. And if that seems a little overwhelming or something that you're not ready for or don't feel like you have time for, at the very least, read the 94 calls to action. It's not a long read and it's a very important one. This was a long, very difficult and challenging process that really brought to light a lot of information that many settlers didn't know about the residential school system. And it is an important step in reconciliation to be familiar with those calls to action. So please take some time to review them. And I also would just suggest that if you don't know where to start in your own learning, there are lots of resources available on our team's resource page, but also a really quick internet search can help. If you haven't already learned the names of the nations that are the stewards of the land on which you live or where you were born, if you were born on Turtle Island, please learn them. Learn how to pronounce them. If pronunciation is a challenge, again, a quick internet search with the word pronounce and the name of the nation will typically give you an audio file so you can hear those pronunciations. Take a look at those 94 calls to action, review or check out the website for Orange Shirt Day. There's really incredible Indigenous-led work happening in those spaces for Every Child Matters. Take some time to learn what you can and figure out what you don't know and fill in those gaps. And we're happy to help you with that here at our team. And you can email us and we would help you with that as well. So please check out our resource page. The Center for People Development has courses and we are happy to help and support you. Thank you so much. If you go to the last slide, this is the upcoming event on Monday. And I encourage you to spend some time, even if it's just 5 minutes every day, to learn what you can to honor those relationships and really establish good relations with our Indigenous neighbors, colleagues, and friends. Thank you so much.